Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the White Label Variety Hour. I'm your host, Jack Davis, and this is our very first video episode. I hope you're excited. Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different, and we're going to be taking a look at the newly announced 2021 Grammy nominations, and I'm going to be talking about my thoughts, my predictions, my hopes for who gets picked, and it's going to be some fun. And I just want to get one thing clear, one thing straight and out of the way. The Grammys are not a very good representation of music opinions, of what good music actually is. And that's not a super controversial opinion at this point. The Grammys have pretty steadily been declining in their overall position they hold, I feel like, in the music industry, just with constant missteps and snubs. And just 10 months ago, the ex-CEO, I believe, just came out and talked about how rigged the whole nomination process is. And snubbing well-deserved artists, it has been a pretty consistent practice of the Grammys. I don't want to name any names, but there was one year where a lot of us lost a lot of faith in the selection process over at the Academy. But I digress. This year's biggest snub, as he's pretty poignantly pointed out on his social media pages, is probably The Weeknd. No, definitely The Weeknd. There's no one else that even came close to his level of mainstream success this year and widespread critical acclaim, really, than he and After Hours did. And it is shocking that he has received zero Grammy nominations across the board this year, in a year that really could have been a really easy sweep for Abel. So I say we just jump right into the nominations list and start going through some thoughts, opinions, and picks. Starting off with Best Pop Solo Performance, we have Yummy by Justin Bieber, probably this year's most universally hated song. Really, the main thing I remember about Yummy is the controversy that came around him begging people to stream it so that he could beat out The Box for number one by Roddy Ricch. Other than that, it's remarkably forgettable and has no business being on this list, especially when a song like Blinding Lights by The Weeknd, I think, was this year's longest running number one. Following that, we have Say So by Doja Cat, which also just dominated this year, I gotta say. Everything I Wanted from Billie, we got some Billie nominations on our way. Don't Start Now from Dua Lipa, which pretty much kicked off, or at least had a large hand in kicking off the disco trend that I feel like we're seeing now. Watermelon Sugar by Harry Styles, which was one of the best singles of the year, I have to say. It got a lot of radio time for sure, but I think it deserved it. And Cardigan by Taylor Swift, which a lot of people really liked. I was a fan of Folklore. It's not something I've really been revisiting too much. It's a little too slow for me, but I'm really glad to see Taylor kind of returning to her roots a little bit with this album, and I would not be upset at all if Cardigan won. But my two picks would easily go to Don't Start Now and Watermelon Sugar, with Watermelon Sugar for sure being my number one. It was just such an original track and a pretty big risk, I'm going to say. It went against the grain more than I would say anything else on this list tried to do. And the Best Pop Vocal Album nominations are actually pretty good. Changes by Justin Bieber is a joke. It really shouldn't be on there. And I'm not saying that as a JB hater. I actually really liked his last album, and Love Yourself is still one of my favorite songs that he's ever released. But Changes was just not his peak, for sure. And again, especially when we have other amazing pop albums that are left off of a list like this. Come on, guys. I gotta give it to either Future Nostalgia or Fine Line again. I would be pretty fine with seeing Taylor win for Folklore, but Future Nostalgia was just impeccably well produced, and more than anything this year, or at least on this list, really just kind of hit the zeitgeist in terms of what I feel like the mainstream was craving in a pop record. On the other hand, I really feel like Harry took advantage of this record to let his career blossom into what it's become now, and absolutely cement himself as a pop superstar, probably for the rest of his career, proving that, you know, he really did not need One Direction to carry him. I probably got to give it to Fine Line for that reason. I would just like to see Harry win for this. We've got some solid nominations I want to shout out for Best Dance Recording. I don't know all these tracks, but I do really like My High by Disclosure, The Difference by Flume, and 10% by Kitra, because those were all some pretty incredible tracks. I hate to say it, but I think 10% was not Kitchenada's best showing, so I don't really think that should win. I would really like to see it either go to My High or The Difference. And I'd have to probably predict it out of those two, going to The Difference, just because that was a much more mainstream hit, I think. I will say, though, very similar nominations for Best Dance Electronic Album, and out of these guys, I think Disclosure had the stronger overall album. So I'd really like to see Energy win Best Dance Electronic Album. Alternative. Pretty cool alternative music album nominations as well. I'm glad to see Fiona Apple got Fetch the Bullet Cutters on there, because, no spoilers, but there's a little snubbery afoot. That's all I'll say. Beck, of course, I didn't listen to Hyperspace, but I'm just not surprised that Beck is getting a Grammy nomination. I am really glad to see Brittany Howard get a nomination for Shame, and The Slow Rush, of course. I'm not super surprised to see. I don't think it was Tame Impala's best showing. I think it was a little bit more of the same from him. So I'd probably see this going to Fetch the Bullet Cutters just because of the insane critical reception that it got. But I would really like to see Brittany Howard win. All right, so moving on to R&B, I know a little bit more here. Pretty solid nominations, actually, for Best R&B Performance, with some caveats. Lightning and Thunder by Gina Echo featuring John Legend was actually really strong. I listened to it for this video, and I was impressed. Black Parade was definitely significantly more hip-hop, I would say. It leaned more hip-hop, but I really liked it. I thought it was a great, fun, topical track. Maybe not fun, but it was upbeat. It was energetic. I'm really glad to see Jacob Collier getting a spot here with All I Need. All I Need was all right. It was pretty good, but it was how I ended up getting into his music, and I'm really, really glad that I had that introduction, because he is an amazing artist, and that's no hot take for sure. Out of all of these, I would honestly like to see Goathead win. It's not for everybody. It's probably not a track that's super easy to revisit, but it tells a really important and powerful story in a really creative and effective way. So I really think that there's a lot of props that deserve to be given to Goathead. At the same time, I'm guessing we're going to see Beyonce win it just because it's Beyonce. However, I think Lightning and Thunder is probably the best choice. It was just really strong, really solid, and is featuring two pretty safe A-listers. Okay, so like many others, I don't know why they added this kind of pointless Best Progressive R&B album when they already had a Best R&B album category. But there are some really interesting and cool nominations here. First of all, I have to shout out the Free Nationals getting nominated for their self-titled album for Best Progressive R&B Album. I'm super happy to see the Free Nationals finally getting the recognition they deserve after supporting Anderson .Paak for this many years. I'm also really glad to see Thundercat getting a nomination for It Is What It Is. That being said, I think it is not his strongest, and it should probably go to Ungodly Hour. Chloe and Halle just absolutely killed it this year. It was one of the best received critically on this list. And I don't really have an opinion for Best R&B Album, but I'm really happy to see Ant Clemens get a nomination for what I believe is his debut, because he's really, really strong. I feel like he's easily going to go places in his career. Woo! All right, so this is what a lot of us came here for, the rap section. This is easily what I'm the most knowledgeable about. And, oh wow. So Best Rap Performance is pretty straightforward. This is just rap. I understand why all these got chosen. These were all some pretty big tracks, but I am massively disappointed with this list. I don't think I saved any of these tracks to my library outside of Savage. Now, Best Melodic Rap Performance is basically the hip-hop plus R&B category, and Rockstar got another nomination. DaBaby's absolutely killing it with nominations this year, and I guess I shouldn't be super surprised. He did find a lot of commercial success over the last year or two, but does he really deserve all these? I don't know. No, I do know. And the answer is no. Laugh Now, Cry Later. I just gotta come out and say it was a better song than I expected that we would be getting from Drake, especially a single. And it was still a Drake song for sure, but it was pretty good. I like the horns, the sample. It had a nice energy to it, so I wouldn't be terribly upset with this doing well. I'm definitely not too upset with it getting a nomination. Highest in the Room. I'm not big on Travis Scott. He feels more like a face to sell McDonald's toys with at this point than an actual artist that I can connect to. And it's the Highest in the Room. It was a fine Travis Scott song. It just didn't blow me away. And I don't feel like it was him taking a lot of risks or making a lot of big strides in his career. On the other hand, The Box by Roddy Ricch should get the Grammy, is what I'm going to say. Even though I'm so happy to see my favorite, Andy Packy, on this list with Lockdown. All right, and Best Rap Album. Not bad, honestly. It's not bad. Black Habits, I am surprised to see on there, and The Allegory by Royce da 5'9" is another surprise, especially in a year when we had such a good Run the Jewels release. Actually, there were a lot of good releases this year that didn't make the list. But I will say, King's Disease, pretty great return to form for Nas. It was just really solid all across the board, and an amazing feature choice. A Written Testimony by Jay Electronica was, again, it was solid. I don't come back to it a whole lot, and that's partially just because I'm so on Jay these days. But A Written Testimony was an objectively solid album. I gotta give it to Alfredo, though, and I'll be really upset, honestly, if Alfredo doesn't win Best Rap Album, because how cool would it be to see Freddie Gibbs and Alchemist getting a Grammy for this work, and getting a Grammy in general. I'd be so interested just to see Freddie Gibbs' speech. I just wanted to look at global music because of the controversy that's come around the Grammys deciding to change the category from world music to global music. And I am really glad to see Burna Boy getting a nomination there. That's really cool. Okay, the big ones. The general field. Record of the Year. A lot of nominations here, as there usually are. We got Black Parade by Beyonce, which I've made my thoughts on pretty clear. I think a lot of these I've made my thoughts on pretty clear, but I'll do some summarizing. I liked it a lot. It was pretty hip-hop-ish, and it's no surprise that Beyonce is getting a nomination here, but absolutely a solid record. Colors by Black Pumas is a surprising nomination, and I anticipated getting here, but I'm really glad that it did, because that was an incredible album and song. It's super soulful, super genuine. I would highly recommend you check it out if you haven't already. Of course, we got Rockstar by DaBaby, which was mediocre. We got Say So by Doja Cat, which took over the world. I feel like outside of Old Town Road, Say So was when a lot of us found out that TikTok kind of controls the music industry now. Everything I Wanted from Billy was good. I liked it. I don't think it's quite as good as some other stuff that we saw this year, or even just from her discography. Don't Start Now could win. I would be totally okay with that. I had this thing on repeat for so much of the year. Super funky, super danceable, super groovy. Highly recommend you check it out, but you've probably already heard it. Circles by Post Malone. I feel like I keep saying this. It was pretty good, but it wasn't that artist's best work. Although, honestly, it might have been. I really liked Circles. And that's partially just because I'm not huge on Posty normally. I do have some stuff from him that I really like, but most of his stuff is just not my cup of tea. Savage, on the other hand, I just really like that one. It always got me moving. Very similarly, we have Song of the Year, and it's a lot of the same nominations. We've got I Can't Breathe from her, who does always get a Grammy nomination, doesn't she? I really like her. Don't take it the wrong way. Shut up. If the World Was Ending, which I didn't listen to at all, I don't think. And Cardigan, of course, from Taylor Swift, I believe was the last new edition. This is tough. I really feel like none of these guys totally deserve it, which is a little surprising. But I think I got to give it to the Box. How cool would it be if Roddy Ricch got Song of the Year for that? And I think he deserved to after... Well, no. Blinding Lights deserves to be Song of the Year. Let's get things clear. And the fact that it's not on here is highway robbery. But out of the choices that we've been given, I think the Box was just synonymous with 2020 for me more than anything else on here really is. The Best New Artist nominations are a little surprising. I really think it probably comes down to the last three there, Doja Cat, Kaytranada, and Megan Thee Stallion. I've heard some stuff from Chica is great, and I should check it out, but I just haven't had a chance yet, so I don't have an opinion on that. But out of the last three, as much as I would love to see Kaytranada win Best New Artist, I just feel like he's not a new artist. He's been around for so long. I've been listening to his stuff and been a big fan of his stuff for many years before this Grammys. So I feel like he's just not very fitting in this category at all. Doja Cat and Megan Thee Stallion are really, I think, the standouts here, and I would much rather see Megan get this than Doja Cat. I'm not a big fan of Doja Cat as an individual. I don't know her, obviously, but she just hasn't had a history of making herself look like the nicest person to be around. And on the other hand, I really like what I've seen from Megan Thee Stallion. I feel like she's been working really hard and earned it this year with Savage. All right, of course, the big one, Album of the Year. Again, super surprising, but super encouraging to see Black Pumas on here with their self-titled album. We've got a Coldplay record. I didn't know Coldplay released an album this year, but we've got Everyday Life from them up for Album of the Year. Jesse Volume 3 from Jacob Collier, which is another surprise, maybe less so now that I've seen the other nominations and seen him on this list, but I don't totally think it should get Album of the Year, but it was a good record, and he is a great artist that I see doing amazing things in the future. Women in Music Part 3, I have a lot of the same thoughts about it. I thought it was a really strong entry in that artist's catalog. Was it Album of the Year? Not necessarily. Hollywood's Bleeding by Post Malone, I wasn't a fan of. I think he just went a little too far. It just didn't feel very genuine, and that's a large part of, I think, Post Malone's allure for me is that in the beginning he seemed very raw, and I think a lot of that's kind of getting stripped back as he's becoming this mega star, which, you know, you can't fault him for. How could it not? But I just didn't feel like I connected with it nearly as much as his past work. Future Nostalgia, I've obviously praised quite a bit in this video so far, but I can't stop. It was so well produced. They knew exactly what they wanted to do, and they did it. They did it so well. I think Future Nostalgia is probably going to have a large impact on pop music in the coming decade, but especially the next few years, and I really think that can't be overlooked, so it would probably be deserving of a Grammy. Folklore by Taylor Swift, again, I was really happy to see her return to her roots. I was not a fan of the hyper polished pop that she was releasing on Lover and previous albums, but Folklore and its acoustic authenticity was an amazing breath of fresh air coming from her. And again, while it's not something I totally find myself revisiting on a regular basis, I absolutely think it could earn Album of the Year. That being said, my pick is Black Pumas. I know it was not the most popular album, but it was just so damn good that I have a really hard time not giving it to it for my personal pick. That being said, there's no way it's getting actually chosen. I'm guessing it's going to be Folklore. It's either Folklore or Future Nostalgia. Mark my words. Again, though, Weeknd, snubbed hard. After Hours was an easy pick for this. And if After Hours was on this list, it would have swept the competition, I'm sure of it. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching.
If you did,
I might implore you to hit that subscribe button down below. It certainly helps us out a lot, and it'll help you out too, because then you'll get notifications of when we upload.
do it for KDAT.
Be sure to check us out wherever you listen to podcasts, and I will catch you guys on the next episode.